Welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage. Today we're going to be having a look at BTC. Let's get into the charts and see what's going on. Before we get into the lower time frame counts, we're going to go over the two main ideas that we're looking for. So the first one is the bullish case, where we're actually arguing that this could be a wave 1. We're looking for a wave 2, and effectively we're looking to complete a wave 3 to the upside. Now, depending on how deep we come here, we'll change this target, but our current level is giving us an indication of this 1618 up here at this 42252. Now, it would be a very shallow retracement if this is already completed here, because we wouldn't have even reached this 0.382, which is already a rare target for this as a wave 2 here, as we wouldn't have even reached this wave 2, as we wouldn't even have reached this 0.382, which is a very rare target already for the idea of having a wave 2, but these can sometimes happen when we get impulsive structure. Now, we are typically looking for an area here between this 382 and this 786. Now, given the fact that we're looking for that possibility of a WXY, then the most common area actually becomes between this 382 and this 0.5 area. So if we do see price push down here one more time, potentially we could see that move into this level before looking for that push to the upside. Now, we also need to be careful because there is the possibility here we could have a bigger corrective structure, where what we could say is that this is W, this is X, and we're looking for a bigger Y wave. Now, if this is the case, then effectively our 0.618, which would be the minimum requirement we're looking for, is actually lower down here towards this 28,416, which would align with this high quite nicely. So going to be keeping an eye on this level. Alternatively, if we do look to get a bigger structure here, we could see something like a move into this 26,507. We could also argue that this is A, B, and C into this high here. The problem I have with this is that this wave 2 and this wave 4 do not have good time comparison to each other, and it would actually mean that, you know, this wave 4 was actually substantially bigger than this wave 2. Now, if this is the case, what we could see is a 5-wave move to the downside, in which case the alternative would be that we're looking for a C wave. Now, a C wave typically looks to target out this 1-to-1, which would be here at this 26,481 if it's just going to be a running flat. If we are going to look for an expanding flat here, we could potentially still see 25,360 to this 23,646 as possible targets. So this is what we need to be careful of here if we fail to start achieving impulsive structure to the upside. Now, within this hunt here, what we could have is this actually being a flat for that Y wave, in which case we have this as A, this is B, and then we're looking for a C. Now, the internals of this are not making this very clear. We could actually still see something like this, where we see a bigger push to the downside, and we actually look to target this 26,931. So it's going to be important here until we actually break back above these highs. We could still see that continuation to the downside. So we need to be on the lookout for this. There is technically a possible way that this could look to complete in the most common area, which would be this 29,399 to this 28,695. Now, in this idea, what we would be saying is that we have an extension in the wave 1, and if this is the case, what we then say is that this is 1, this is 2, this could be 3, this could be 4, and then this could be 5. Now, we do have an overlap here with this wave 4, and the only way that this works is if this is A, B, C, D, E. Now, if this is the case, what we would be looking for is a direct push to the downside. Common target area for a wave 5, if we have an extension within this wave 1, would be between this zone here of this 0.618 and this 786, which would be here at this 28,983 to this 28,621. This would also bring us into our typical 5th wave target box, which would be here at this 28,732 to this 28,523 level. So this would be quite interesting, because this could actually look to complete this move and would actually look to bring us into that 0.382. So going to be keeping an eye on this level. If we do see price move down in a 5-wave structure, what we could then see is that this 5-wave move could be completed here. Now, this would also align with actually coming back down and taking out this daily naked point of control sitting at this 28,841, and could look to push us down into, like I said, this zone of that 0.382. And then, as I said earlier as well, this high is going to be quite an interesting level to me to keep an eye on if we do see price move back down into those zones, because there is other horizontal support on the left hand side of that move. What we need to be careful, however, like I said, we could still see this develop as a bigger 5-wave move to the downside. Now, 1.618 would be our target we're looking for this as a 3rd wave in the blue count here, and that would be this 27,059. Now, what we would be saying here is one of two things. We could say that this is 1 and 2 here, and then we have 1 2 1 2, and then we're going to get 3 4 5 4 5 4 5, in which case we're getting an extension. or alternatively, this could be one, we could have this as W, X, and Y, and actually this wave 2 is over here. Now, if that's the case, then we would just be looking for this as another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'd be getting another fourth and a fifth. So this would align more with the idea that we're getting that bigger C wave to the downside, though technically speaking, we do have that area that we could look for here as a flat, which would be this 26,931, even if this is A and B over here, and we still look at this as a Y wave. So that would be it's not a common target, but it is a target nonetheless. Now, if we're looking at this break to the downside here, what we could argue then is that this is 1 and we're looking for a wave 2. Common rejection area for this would be between this 786 and this 50% here, which would be at this 29,596 to this 30,025. Invalidation of this idea comes by breaking these highs. So this is going to be the important thing between these counts. If we do see price move back above this level, then it becomes more likely that we're actually looking to have a more substantial move to the upside here. So if we do see price break above this invalidation, we could be either looking for that possibility of starting our wave 3, or this could actually just be a corrective move where we're going to see a bigger ABC pattern. We're going to go over that in a second, but we were discussing this idea in the previous video here that we were looking for this as a possible 1 and 2 to the downside. So this is less likely now, in my opinion, because of the size of the structure that we've got over here. So I'm actually going to remove this from the chart. Now, it is still possible that we are within this yellow wave 2. If this is the case, what we could see is something along these lines, where what we have here is this is an A wave, this is a B wave, and then we're looking for a C wave to the upside. Now, it is also possible here that this B wave is actually looking to complete over here, and we could have this as W, X, A, B, and then C to the downside. If this is the case, what we could see is price come back down into these lower levels here, 29,175 to this 28,981 could be a potential zone we look for. If we do see price fail to break back above these highs here of this 29,407. Now, the problem is if we just see a move to the downside here, we need to be very careful that this isn't becoming 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, and 5, and we're starting to break down. We're going to go over that idea of that fifth wave in a second, saying that this could be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 as a triangle. So we will get to that now, but effectively within this count, what I'm looking for is that possibility of the wave 2. Invalidation of this comes by crossing this 28,861, and if we do see something like this where we get this is a W wave here, this is an X and a Y, or an A, B, and a C. The problem with this being a C wave is we have 3-wave structure here. So unless this is still part of the B wave, it doesn't make a lot of sense. 1-to-1 is of the target as we would be looking at it currently with the current structure would be here towards this 29,916 level. And then we'd be looking for this to develop as either 3 waves as a WXY, or alternatively as 5 waves as a C wave. Currently, the structure is not good for a 5-wave move, so we'll have to see whether we actually get this move come back down here one more time, and then we see 5 waves to the upside. The problem we have here is that if this gets too big here, we need to be very careful because this is a 1 and a 2. This wave 2 is actually starting to get quite a lot bigger than this wave 1. So we need to just bear that in mind. If we see price do this, come back down, and then we see something like this, then it becomes very unlikely that these two are related to the same degree count. Now, within the idea we were talking about yesterday, we're saying we could have something like a triangle here. So there is possibility that this is A, this is B as a triangle, and then we look for a push to the upside. Now, what we were saying is we needed another 3-wave move to the downside for an E wave. This has technically happened here. We haven't invalidated by crossing this 29,083. If we do see price continue to stay within this bounds of this 29,083 to this 29,690, it is still possible that this could be developing still, where this becomes A, B, this becomes C, we get D, and then E, and this becomes a bigger triangle here. So really, if this is the case and we have this as A, B, C, D, E, as I have it marked out here, what I want to see is a break back above this invalidation point. If we either break to the upside and invalidate this, then this could align with this being A, B, C. And what we'd be looking for then, because this target would be slightly different to looking at that WXY one, is 1-to-1 would be up here at this 30,070. We do have the 1, 2, 3, 6 also up here towards this 30,271, and the 1.382 up here towards this 30,397, which would be back into these highs. So these would be some areas of interest to me if we do see this move actually push to the upside here. Potentially we could look to target out some of those levels. The problem is here that if we're looking at this as a triangle, we also have to be careful of the idea that this is A, B, C, D, and E, in which case we could look to break to the downside. If this is the case, what we would then be saying is that potentially this is 1, 2, 1, 2. And if we fail to break back above these highs, we could see price start to reject to the downside. Now, what we'd be looking for here as a common target, given our current levels here, would be looking for this 1618 to the downside, which would be this 29,085. If we do see price starting to break down below this level of this A wave, like I said, this could either be a bigger W in X and a Y, in which case we find support in that support zone, hold this low and see price push to the upside. Or alternatively, if we do see something like this 5-wave move down here, another 3-wave move and a 5-wave move down, this could start to become that bigger 5th wave to the downside. So we need to be on the lookout for this. If we do get a 5-wave structure down, this could align with that idea of that breakdown with that 5-wave option, where what we could be looking for is something like this, looking to move us down into this target area here of this 28,734 to this 28,530. So there are a lot of options up here with looking at this structure, and it's because it's so complex. There are many different ways of looking at this currently, and we need to be quite fluid with how we analyze it, because there are a few different counts here which we can have depending on where we complete and what we see happen with different levels. So we have these counts, and then price action either confirms or denies them. That's how we utilize Elliott-wave theory. It's not a crystal ball that tells us exactly where price is going to be going. Now, if we're looking at this as a bigger W, an X, and a Y, there's a couple of options here that we also went through where we could just see this as a bigger A, B, and a C. Now, within this one, what we're saying is that this could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is why it's important, these highs here. For as long as we stay below these highs, the likelihood is still looking like we could see this continuation to the downside here. But what we have to be careful of is that the 0.618 has been met over here by this move down. So this could technically be A, B, and C already. So we need to be on the lookout that if we do see something like that, what we could have from further back here is that this move could be completed. So within this count, we were looking at the possibility of saying, you know, we could still get that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is going to be important to watch that wave 2 location, which we were just discussing here, where we're saying, you know, if we just see something like this, we could see that continuation to the downside. If we are, however, looking at this as completed, what we need to just be on the lookout for is that if we are looking at this as a Y wave to the downside, what we could then get is that this could be W, this could be X, this could be Y. Now, a Y wave shouldn't be WXY, in which case what this could mean is that this becomes an A wave and we see 3 waves to the upside for a B and then get a C wave down. Now, if this is the case, effectively what we could look for is a move up into the zone of this 30,821 to this 29,993. So if we do continue to hold this low over here, and we see price looking to move around here where this becomes 3 waves to the upside, we get another 3 waves down, we see something like this, a bigger WX and a Y into this area. Potentially then this would align with the idea that within here we have this all is our A wave, this becomes our B wave, and then we see a C wave down. So we always need to be careful here. Price doesn't need to either just move up or down. Sometimes we can just remain ranging for a long period of time. As well as that, if we see something like this where this actually becomes A and we see a bigger move to the upside here, 32,473 to this 31,431, we could see this actually just develop as a bigger 3-wave move and then get something like this as a bigger 5-wave move to the downside, where we just get this as a bigger ABC pattern looking to play out over, you know, a longer period of time. We were discussing the idea internally that we could see this as a flat correction. I don't think this is likely anymore. It is possible we could still see a move up here directly in 5 waves, but then I would be more inclined to think that this would be our A wave. This is A, B, and C, all within the B wave, and then potentially looking for this C wave to the downside. Now, the problem with this count is the internals are looking very choppy at the moment, so it's not the highest degree of confidence within this idea, but it is still nonetheless an idea, because we did come back down towards the zone of this 28,934, and we did find a reaction here until we actually take these lows again, need to just be on the lookout for the possibility of a 5-wave move up. Now a 5-wave move up into this 1-to-1, which is sitting here at this 30,987, could align with the idea of a running flat here. If we do get a bigger move and we actually look to push up into these 1618 to this 1236 area, which would be this 31,492 to this 32,343, this would align with the idea of this becoming a bigger flat correction, in which this would be an expanding flat, and then we would be looking for a 5-wave move to the downside after this point. So even if we do get 5 waves to the upside here, we need to be careful, because this could align with still having this as a C wave, and then we still look to break down afterwards. So if we do see something like this, people will be getting very bullish, in which case what we want to see is 3 waves down if we want to look for that bullish continuation and then that move up. If we see 5 waves down, need to start being very careful of an additional drop here. So we're going to go over the idea of this looking to extend up. Like I said, a lower degree of confidence within this count currently because of how choppy it is and the fact that this is looking quite a lot like a triangle here. But we'll have to see whether we actually develop that or confirm that triangle by either that break to the upside or to the downside. If, however, we are looking at this as an impulse, we were talking about that possibility that this was 1-2 and then saying 1-2, 1-2. Now, it is not as likely anymore that that is what's playing out, in my opinion, because of the fact that if this was 1-2, 1-2, this would have to then be another 1-2 here, and the wave 2 would be bigger than these previous 2 wave 2s. So that this is not very common when we are looking for extension. And what I would rather be thinking is that within this structure, we're looking at a bigger corrective pattern. So if we do see this as a W and X and we get A, B, and C to the downside, and we still look to hold this line here of this 28,861, but have a bit of a push down for this Y wave, what we could then see is a move down into this zone of between this 29,191 to this 28,997. If we do see something like this, where we get this as a 3-wave move up, and then we get something like this as another move to the downside, effectively this would bring us into our target box, and then we'd have to see what happens next. If we start to develop 5-wave structure to the upside, this could actually just become A, B, and then C, in which case what we'd be looking for as a possible target here would be this 29,918 as a 1-to-1. If, however, we start to see more impulsive price action to the upside, and we start to see price breaking to the upside in a bigger way, looking to push this level here of this 30,455, this could then align with the idea that here that this becomes 1, 2, 3, and then we'd be waiting for that confirmation of the 4th wave and then seeing a 5th wave, which could look to push us up towards the zone of this 30,779 to this 30,573 as a possible target level. Now, if we do see something like this, 3 waves down means potential continuation, 5 waves down means we're probably going to see a break of this low again. So that's what we'll have to keep an eye on here if we do see price move to the upside in that way. Having a look at the daily CPR lines here, what we can see is that these are printing consistently higher CPR lines. So this is indicating that there's a slight bullish bias at the moment, but we need to see whether price confirms this. What we want to see here is price looking to break back above this R1 line and this previous daily high here of this 29,407 for confirmation of that short-term bullish bias. Though we still have these printing lower than this previous CPR line over here. So we need to just be on the lookout that if we do move back up into these central lines, which would be this 29,345 to this 29,330, what we could then see is a rejection and then continuation down. If we do reject to the downside, we can see that we've already come down and swept the previous daily low and this S1 line. So if we do look to reject here, the next targets I would be looking for as possible zones would be this 29,189. We have this 29,119, 29,036 as potential targets to the downside for today. As well as that, if we do look to push the upside, I'm going to be keeping an eye on this 29,408 as the previous daily high. We have this 29,421 as upside targets, and this 29,487, 29,570, and 29,638 as potential targets to the upside for today. Now, price can always look to move through these zones, so if we start to see impulsive structure, we can see them blast through these levels. But what we could see is, interaction with these zones and then some kind of a reaction. Looking at the weekly pivots here, what I'm going to be looking out for is that if we do move to the upside here, potentially we could look to find resistance again at this 29,591, as well as that if we do move to the downside here, we could potentially look to test out this 29,099 level again and possibly find support at this level. If we do look to lose that zone, downside targets for this week is this 28,687, though obviously we need to just be aware there's not much time left for these CPR lines before we get new lines printed. Now, if we do look to push up here, other resistance could be found here at this 29,964 to this 30,000 level. Now, this would align with that idea here that within the structure, we're looking for this as the bigger dip W and X and a Y, or a bigger A, B, and a C if we do see price come into these before reset tomorrow. If, however, we do not move into this zone, like I said, going to be watching these lower targets as possible resistance. Now, as well as that, looking at the monthly CPR lines here, we can see that this one is actually aligned very nicely with this double top potential here. So if we do see price move back to the upside here, something like this, we could see a retest of this level. Now, this level could potentially offer us resistance at this 29,686. If we did see something like that, where we see a move to the upside, get rejected, and start to break down, that would align with the idea where we could be looking for that continuation to the downside. Alternatively, if we do look to break down below this low here, we could look to either find support here at this 28,904 or start to move down towards this 28,106 level as a possible target for this month. Once again, the month is almost over, so these lines will not be valid for that much longer, so we need to just bear that in mind. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video, and leave us some feedback down below. Also in the description, you'll find a link to the Discord. Come check it out. It is free to join. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.